Alright, so I'm gonna attempt this version of uh, this tutorial in Max 2009, simply because it does not work in Max 2008. It's a bug, and this is the Morph target uh, tutorial. And like I said, the version of Max or Max 2008 has a very severe bug that prevents you from creating morph targets, and obviously creating a character that speaks by using morph targets would be pretty necessary to be able to create morph targets. But the only way around it is to use Max 2009. So this is going to be an informational tutorial. It's not going to be an in-depth cover of the whole entire process. I'm going to just go through and show you, for those that are lucky enough to have 2009, or this will also works in Max 9 and 8 as well. The process hasn't really changed over the versions. It's just Max 2008 that this doesn't work in. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here with showing you how to approach creating morph targets. So the first thing that we need is we need a copy of our base mesh. So go ahead and I'm going to call this morph base. Make sure it's a copy. And we see it pops back into place because of the skin, so we'll just go ahead and delete the skin. Okay, so now it's over here off to the side, ready to be used. So I'm going to go ahead and make another copy, and this one I'm going to name blink, because this is going to be the first morph target that we're going to create. And so what we're going to basically do here is our original mesh. We're going to apply the morpher modifier, and then this morpher modifier needs to be moved down beneath the skin. Okay, so it's the edible poly, or the model itself, and then the morpher modifier, which is going to drive all our facial animation, and then the skin modifier, which is going to drive the rest of his body. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide the biped, and I'm going to hide the rig, and I'm going to bring the eyes out, and I'm going to copy these eyes over here, copy, and we just make sure that they are, yeah, it's pretty close. Okay, so now with our original mesh with the morpher modifier, we're going to go into it, and we see that we have the channel list here, and then we're seeing the list range of 1 through 10. And as we scroll down, we see we can have up to 100 morph targets, and that's 100 morph targets just in this morpher modifier. If we had another 100 that we wanted to use, we just add a second morpher modifier on top of this one and go and add another 100 and add a third for 300, and so on and so forth. But what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down to where it says load multiple. We're going to click on load, and it's going to pull up our select by name, and it's showing you right here that we have two viable or two valid morph targets that we can use, morph base and blink. And this is because the vertex count is identical, since it's a copy and we made no changes to the mesh. There's the exact same number of vertices, and each vertex is numbered the same. So obviously we have two valid sources. We're going to use blink. We're going to go ahead and hit load, and I'm going to go ahead and check automatically reload targets. And what this is going to allow us to do is to come into the blink, and if we go into subobject mode, and what we're going to do is we're going to basically model. I want to use edge, And notice I'm going to select on these two edges, and then I'm going to come over here and select on these two. So the exact same vertices I'm selecting are edges on both sides. Okay, and now I'm gonna get out of subobject mode for a second. Come back over here, and I'm gonna put Turbo Smooth modifier on top of the setup. So we got Ebel Poly, Morph Skin, and then Turbo Smooth on top. Alright, because that's the way it's going to be when we actually render it and do all of the wonderful things. So what we're going to do, we'll go back to this guy, go back in the edge, and we see we're still selected. And now I'm going to move these down, and oh, forgot to do one thing, so let's get out. Let's go back to the morpher, and we see that we loaded the blink. Now I'm just going to go ahead and raise this to 100. So it's fully charged on the blink morph, so all of our changes here are going to immediately be updated over here. So sorry about that. Okay, so I can see what I'm looking at here is not so much what the structure looks like here, but what it's going to look like over here, and that looks pretty good. I could maybe stand to see it come down a little further like that, because that's looking about the way I want it to look like. Okay, and now I think I can select on that one over here, select on that one, and let's see what this is going to look like. And don't forget that we can rotate. Okay. Okay, that looks good to me. So let's come over here. And I'm thinking edge is going to be our best bet on this side. So take those two, move them down, move them out. See what that's looking like over here. Okay, so not bad. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to run through this, just trying to fix the issues in the areas I know there's going to be some problems. And okay, so we still got a little bit of issues right in here, and we got to fix this, but I know we got to fix that. Okay, so let's see here. I think what we could do would be, I'm going to pull this up some and then go into these vertices, and let's actually pull those down, pull them out a little bit, see what that did. Okay, so that's good. So as you can see, it's just as much time and care that we put into modeling the face. We have to put the same amount into modeling these morph targets. Okay, and I'm going to turn on our under edit geometry, I'm going to turn on the edge constraints, and I'm going to pull these down, and same thing with these two, and then let's pull these down, and then these, and maybe I'll pull these down a little bit too. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, let's bounce back over here. Okay, so I can see I got to pull them out some because we're seeing the eye. So go back into vertex, and we're going to pick on these dudes right here, and we're going to turn the constraints off. pull this out. And I think I'm going to pull these out just a little bit as well. Okay, so let's hop back. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. Let's go to Morpher. Looks good to me. I'll just do a quick render. Let me see what it looks like. His eyes are closed. Alright, so looks like I can probably fix. I need to fix something along here. That might just be. Let me turn this to isoline. Okay, let's come back over here. Yeah, and I can see what I think the problem is these guys right here are too far down, because that's his lid. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so his eyes are still closed. Let's see. And fix it a little bit. Let's see what will happen if we crank this up 2 iterations. Okay, so that's a lot better. Alright, so I'm happy. If it can be fixed by increasing the iteration, that works for me. Because I don't really see much else that we could do here. There's just not enough information going on with the base mesh. But I'm pretty happy with the results of this for the time being. Alright, so now I'm going to select on this guy, go to my layer manager, and I'm going to make a new layer. Morph targets, and we can see the blinks in there, so we'll go ahead and hide the blink, and go ahead and save, and I'm going to put this as the 2009 version, because I've already tried this video 3 times in 2008 and it crashed every time. I got to this stage right here. So let's see if they truly have fixed this. So this one is going to be called wide. Let's call it wide for now. And just like before, we go to our morpher, load multiple. We want to load the wide. Load. Hey, it didn't crash. That means that Max 2009 is better than 2008. Okay, so let's go back to the morpher. Alright, and we have, let's pull this up. So we have our blink set, which works. Okay, now we need to crank the wide up so we can come in here and make all the changes that we want. And I'm going to turn off, well, you actually want to leave the turbo smooth on when you're modeling these morph targets, so that you can see what how far you need to push, or just like with the blink, we pulled them down farther than we needed to, or farther than it looked like we needed to here on the low res, but it looked better over here, and this is the result that you're ultimately going for, is what it looks like turbo smoothed. So set onto the wide, and basically what's going on with this wide, it's also, let me put a slash and put a smile, and that's what we're basically do here, is we're gonna create a morph target that looks like he's smiling. So if we think back to the original mesh that we made when we were modeling our guy here. He had this big smile on his face, and that's what we need to get back to. And there's really no easy way of doing this. There are some tricks that we can do to make this a little easier for us, and I'm going to show you those now. So I want to come in here in Vertex, and I'm going to select all these guys and control page up to grow the selection one time. Okay. Actually, I don't want to do that here. We want to add the mesh select. So we go into Vertex here, and now we're going to make our selection. So select all of these dudes. And I don't think control page up is going to work. Yeah, it doesn't work in mesh select. So I just need to get in here, because the main ones that I really wanted was these. So I'll just go ahead and add the ones I'm really concerned about. I don't want those. Don't really need that one. Okay, so I'm going to go with those. Okay, so I'm selected on all of the vertices that make up the front of his mouth here. Okay, so with my mesh select still in sub-object mode, I'm going to add an FFD 2x2. Maybe not a 2x2, let's do 2x3. Or sorry, 3x3. 4x4. There we go. Okay, so notice because of the mesh selected on these vertices, it only applied the modifier to what we have selected. Now what I'm going to do is go into the control points, and I'm going to select them, and so notice I selected, do that again, selected on all the middle ones here. Okay, we have 4 rows of these controls. You can see here, we really probably don't need that many. But I think that actually might work out for us. So I just select right through the middle, which selects on all of these, and then using the scale tool, I'm going to scale out just on the X. I can see that it's pushing out these vertices. Okay, so I can squeeze them in and push them out a little bit. And I'm actually looking at that. I'm going to try doing all of the middle row. Okay, so, and all I'm looking at, not really so much concerned with the lips as I am with the overall structure of the way the mesh is flowing. Okay, so if I turn it off, that's what it looks like. And then if I imagine the smile, would the end of the lips be this far out? I'm also going to pull it back a little bit. Because remember, when they smile, the lips stretch. Okay. Alright. So I'm pretty happy with the way that's looking. So I'm going to collapse it all down. Okay, now what we got to do is we got to separate these lips a little bit. Okay, so we'll just come in and do them by hand, kind of the same way we did before. If you want to, we can actually, edible poly. Let's make sure. Okay, so we see it's working over here. Okay, because it collapsed an edible mesh, and I just wanted to make sure that it still was going to work as an edible poly, that it didn't change any of the vertice numbers or anything like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select on this part of his face, and then I'm going to invert the selection by hitting Control I, and now I'm going to hide the rest of those vertices, just because it's going to make my life a lot easier to look at just this than the entire whole head. So it's just going to help us out a little bit. And if you want to, we can move this closer to the original so we can see the changes update a little easier. Okay, so again, moving on. Remember, we are attempting to model ourselves a really nice looking smile here, and we want to see pretty creases, laugh lines, and I'm gonna pick on these guys. I'm gonna pull that out, and I'm gonna push this one out, and then push this one out. Again, let's watch and see what's going on that side. Okay, so I can tell that this is going to be, let's do those together. What is that? This one. Okay, so you pull them both out at the same time. And I'm going to do these vertices, pull those out, and put our edge constraints on. So again, like I've already said, this is the process where we are going and we are modeling every facial expression. And come over here and see how it's looking. And maybe even throw a render in so we can see we're getting pretty nice creases for his laugh lines. And remember, the smile, we actually are going to have the teeth separate. Does he have his teeth? Where are the teeth? Mouth. Okay, so we actually need to pull the mouth up. I guess that looks about right for now. Right there. Alright. That's his tongue. Oh, that's the inside of his mouth. Alright, so remember that when he smiles, I'm actually thinking this is going to come out even bigger than this, because we want to be able to push it a little farther if we need to, but it's looking pretty good. Remember that not only is it pushing outwards, but it's going to be wrapping around. Okay, so I'm going to pick on this guy right here. Let's throw some soft selection on this puppy. Bring it down. Let's bring that in a little bit. I'm just going to push this and then do the same thing for this side. Just trying to guesstimate about how far out they should be. And now I'm going to use my soft selection again, and I'm going to reselect this other side, and I'm going to pull this back like so. Like I said, not only does the smile stretch across, but it wraps around the teeth and pushes back into the face. Okay. So, and the one thing that a smile doesn't do this number. Okay, but if you wanted to, we could tweak it up just a little bit, like that. But then we could also make that its own morph target. We can leave it straight across like it is, like that, and then we can make another morph target where we nudge it up and we bring it down for the frown. But I'm going to tweak it up just a little bit, and so I mean, we ask ourselves, do we, does it look like he's got a happy smile on his face? I mean, is this a good smile? Are we happy with it? Do we get a sense that this smile is looking correct? If the answer is yes, then we have made ourselves a good smile, also known as the wide. Okay, so I think that we will go with that, and I'm going to add this guy to the morph targets, and we can hide this one, and basically go on and do the same thing. And this one will be let's call it the open, and this will be the last one that I'm gonna cover here. Okay, and I'm gonna go into polygon mode, and since this is still just referring to his face, I'm going to just select on the polygons no that are going to be affected, which is going to be those. Control I, and now we will go down and we will hide the rest of them. And if you don't like those, we can hide those too, whatever. Okay, so this is the open. Now let's come in here and just take a look. And the last thing that you want to kind of look at to verify when you're looking at your morph targets was, how does it look when the face is moving into that morph target? Does it look like it's following the muscle structure? Does it look natural? Is there something unnatural about the way that it's looking? I think that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to zero that one out. And now we're going to load the open, and then we'll do the same thing. Crank the open all the way up, and we'll go ahead and save. Okay, and now we make the open, and the only thing that happens here is the jaw essentially is going to open. So we can do this a couple of ways, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those, control page up. Okay, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my select. I'm going to select on all of these guys that represent really kind of the bottom jaw, and I can't really see any better than I've got right here, so we'll go with this. Okay, and now looking at this, I'm going to drop it down because that's the way that the jawbone works, and I'm going to rotate it a little bit like so, so we get this hinge effect. And I'm going to go ahead and push this pretty far come in here. And let's pull these. Okay. And now let's tweak the rest of these. Maybe do these guys right here. Okay. So now, okay, so those need to come back in a little bit. Alright, so now what we've got to do is we've got to start seeing how these polygons are going to actually create this roundness in his lips. And first thing that I see that makes sense to me would be to take these edges right here, start a little bit of soft selection, bring that way down, maybe something like that, and maybe I'll take these up a little bit. And these guys right here. Okay, this soft selection is not working out for me. I'm just not going to use it right here. Okay, so it's not that we're going for like a screaming expression or nothing like that. We just want to see the mouth open. And another piece of advice for you here is while you're creating these morph targets, to be looking at yourself in the mirror, to use a mirror to help you to make these expressions yourself, and look and see how your face is reacting to them. How are your lips forming as you do these poses? I actually think that's pretty good. Okay, so we definitely have some issues there. Okay, the other thing I can see is not enough moving back here. It's like his jaw ends right here. And I think I maybe could come in here and stretch, so we can see that these vertices are not moving at all. And because the face is made of these muscles, we would see some stretching going on. So we gotta always make sure that when we look at the way the face is moving, that it looks like it is moving because of the muscles driving it, not because you just move some vertices around. So I'll just make a few more changes here. Oops. I'll do the other side the same. Okay, same with these guys. This is an area that I feel we have some issues. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to take all those, go over here and take all those. And let's okay, so make some changes and let's come over and see what it looks like. looks like he's opening his mouth to me. So now if we combine that with a wide, we can get a laugh expression. And there we go. So those are the concepts, and you know, to get you kind of started and keep you rolling with making these morph targets. That is the concept, the principle that you would follow. So I don't want to leave you guys hanging too much without them, but that's the concepts, and you should be good to go creating all your own morph targets. And a great book to pick up is Stop Staring by Jason Osipa, O-S-I-P-A. I'd recommend that to anybody. It's really going to give you good frame of reference and a good direction to creating these morph targets. And I'll cover these more in depth at a later time. I just wanted to throw this out there for you guys so that you can keep moving. Keep moving forward with your progress on with this character. Let me see. Boy, he's got a mouthful of teeth. So anyway, I hope that you got something out of that and kind of see how to approach creating your morph targets. You don't want, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is, notice I didn't make a happy face, angry face. You break it down into the actual functionality of the mouth. We have an open, and when that's combined with the wide, we have, you know, the ability to have this, you know, this laugh look, make him laugh if we wanted to. So you combine them all together to create the expressions that you want. So just keep that in mind as you're making them, and I'll see you next time.